Iceberg Gym, back at y'all another one, and this is the retro throwback unreboxing of Windows XP Professional. Now, no, I do not have the original box, but I've had this folder of Windows XP Professional since 2002. Used to keep this back on the computer back in the day when I was coming up. I thought this was the best Windows ever, best Windows of all time. This is my favorite Windows of all time, even though I can say Windows 7 was the best Windows. But this was the game changer. And I guess I always felt this might be worth something, or this meant something, or this was special, because it was the game changer, Windows XP. Prior to Windows XP, I had Windows ME, and that was always crashing. Drivers were crazy. It wasn't always recognizing things, and plug and play still wasn't refined yet. So I was still going through those 3.5 floppy disks to install scanners, printers, things of that nature. And eventually during the Windows ME era, I reverted back to Windows 98 because the second computer I ever had was a Windows 98 machine, 1 gigahertz. Got that sometime around 2000 because computer I had prior to that in 1997 wasn't ready for the modern world at that point, because when I got a cable modem early 2000, it would still go fast, but it wasn't even connected to Ethernet. It was connected to a USB adapter, and then the computer was still slow with the download speeds. I mean, not 56K dial-up slow, but it would hesitate back in those days, and that's when you was watching music videos on launch.com, messing around with Napster. And of course, Napster for music that you already own, of course, but you just, wanted to download that that music that have that bag of one computer to listen to, so you don't, mess up your CDs and, whatnot. But back to Windows XP Professional. Windows ME was so buggy, and I had reverted back to Windows 98. And then at some point, I got a hold of a beta copy of Windows XP through one of my buddies. Put me onto it. It was probably through the MSDNA or whatever Microsoft had developer thing. We get to the beta testing, and I checked it out. I used it in Classic, and even when I copped this, I used it in Classic mode with the traditional start menu. But eventually I grew into the more refined start menu, most recent programs, 2 columns, etc. And it started to seem like the future because it's more stable. It's based on NTFS. Even though part of the reason why I enjoyed ME and I used it longer than I probably should have is because it looked like Windows 2000. So like the computers that you had at school, or if you were working at that time, that's what it looked like. And I felt it was more adult, more mature. And even when I was looking at Windows XP, it looked kind of kiddie to me. And the extra features seemed kind of kiddie. It didn't seem like more power type features. But I came around to it, of course, especially once I tried that beta. And I just didn't like the design. I switched it, but I eventually went with the XP design, probably 2003 and beyond. The traditional XP native design, bright colors, and went on from there. But yeah, I definitely had this back in the day. The product key is still visible on the back. This is where the product key was from the CD set. So I'm not gonna show that because people still use Windows XP, and I'm not getting into all of that. Yeah, this is the version 2002. And as we know, Windows XP became very, very reliable for the home consumer. Back in the day, you always had them DLL errors, just random errors. This is finally based on NTFS. So it was like these corporations, these school computers, you were on top of things. And it was eventually, you could say it was eventually the future with NTFS. You could have individual files that are larger than 4 gigabytes. And if you're doing any kind of video nowadays, that definitely comes in handy. So it definitely set up the future. Because when Windows XP going from 2001 into the 2010s, really, because Windows 7 came out in 2009, so people using XP into the 2010s because they wasn't feeling Vista. Most people weren't because of the requirements and the driver issues. And I guess that's kind of the reason why I also got XP late, because I was used to issues with ME, so I wanted it to actually be refined. I still debatable for a while, and I want to show about the games I was playing at the time, if it would be compatible, what have you. So, but anyway, I eventually got XP, got it in terms of upgrade, and we're just gonna go ahead and crack this open, see what's good with it. And you have the XP experience start here to Windows XP, introducing Windows XP Professional, the most reliable, capable Windows ever. Built experience an operating system built for the way you work. And this was a very, very important operating system. I mean, it took those developments from the late 90s and refined it into the modern day era of people video editing, putting videos on YouTube, social media, etc. This was the foundation. Windows XP was the foundation. As you can see, I started to upgrade CD in it. Really in good condition, because I really wasn't out there installing or reinstalling it like that. I'm not even sure I can see a scratch on it. Nah, it might be just a regular little bit of wear and tear, maybe some condensation marks from wet fingers or something. This is version 2002 Windows XP Professional. So I mean, this is what it was. This is from back in the day. 15, 16 years ago when I got it. As you can see, let's crack open this booklet, if you will. Start here. Have all of the contents. Page is still good. Everything's holding up. Okay, just the getting ready, installation, some stuff about disk partitions, product support. You know, the usual things you expect, but page is still held up well. And I guess maybe I'm holding on to it because, I don't know, maybe I think it'll be worth something one day. Take it to the pawn shop, get a few $1,000s for it. I mean, I doubt it, but it just seems, I mean, maybe some kind of operating system geek nerd, if you will. This might interest you. Maybe Bill Gates lost his copy. Steve Ballmer lost their copy. I could sell it to them. Like this was one of your crowning achievements. And next to Windows 7, but you could say that was, you know, their best one ever. But this Windows XP Pro, and I think I might have got Windows XP Professional because they had remote desktop, and you know, I said obviously that might be the future. You can access your desktop when you're away, if you had school or work or something, and access your desktop. But eventually, cloud computing dominated. And obviously I was familiar with cloud computing from the Hotmails of the world that had already existed. So cloud computer was going on since the late 90s. And everything with email wasn't always the top 3. But you had the ability to where it would be stored on the server. And then there was other environments where that was applicable in terms of cloud computing for like workplace, school place type of email servers where you could upload files, log into that same client when you got back home, and still get your work and your school information right from there. That was the time we had Citrus, I think Novell, even from the maybe the late '90s and the early 2000s. And this was this was definitely a big, big deal. So I'm just sharing my experience with Windows XP. This is a retro re-unboxing. I'm still hanging on to this. I enjoyed Windows XP. Grew on me, and by SP2, it was solid, reliable. Because when XP came out, SP1 era, you still had some issues. SP2, very reliable. SP3, did I even have a blue screen of death ever? So the reliability was definitely there. It wasn't like the Windows 9X kind of days, the Windows ME days. No, no, no. It was definitely an improvement for the best, as we had the merging of corporate business and the consumer, and that the consumer needed that kind of reliability, and that reliability came in handy as the gig economy kicked off this decade, and people with YouTube getting started last decade. So it was definitely an important operating system. The operating system I probably had for the most years ever exclusively. I skipped Vista because I heard bad things about it. I haven't tried Vista in an academic environment, and that it was just so slow and slow on boot up, slow on doing common tasks. Like, nah, it ain't worth it. And I heard so many bad things about it. Read reviews, saw so many bad things about it, drivers, etc. Working with some of the older stuff, and like, nah, that's not for me. Once I found the Windows 7, once I got a laptop, I'm like, yo, Windows 7, best operating system from Microsoft ever. Favorite being XP. Don't get me wrong. Soft spot, and it feels better than Windows 7 to me. Just in terms of what it did and what it meant to society and the way and and just how people work nowadays. But Windows 7 was refined and had a good operating system. I suppose the last service pack of Vista was pretty good too, but I gotta say Windows 7 was a rebranding, but it had to be done. But yeah, I just want to share that with y'all, spark up a little bit of nostalgia for myself, for y'all, the viewers. That's what it is. Iceberg Jam out. Windows XP. Iceberg Jam out. Deuces.